I got home after a long day and my parents were waiting for me in the living room. Catherine, sit down. We need to talk, my father said, looking quite agitated. What's going on, Dad? I asked tiredly. I had worked all day, gone to college at night, and upon getting home, all I wanted was to take a shower and crash into bed. But that wasn't possible. Catherine, your cousin's wedding invitation has arrived, my mother said. That little tramp is not my cousin. I snapped, already getting angry. Catherine, she is your cousin, my mother insisted. You need to stop this childish behavior. Melissa already hit her and caused a scene here at home. Enough. She's my sister's daughter, which makes her your cousin. I'm sorry, Mom, but she means nothing to me. I tried to stay calm. She slept with my boyfriend in my bed. That's not something she should do. I had been dating Claude for 4 years. He was my first boyfriend, and I found him in my bed, in my room, having sex with Kelly, my cousin. I was in shock. Of course, Melissa, my best friend, went after them. Since then, things had been tensed at home because my parents insisted it was silly and that I should act as if nothing had happened and go back to being around my cousin. He was wrong, Catherine, since he was your boyfriend, my mother argued. Kelly, poor thing, was seduced. He dishonored her. Now he's marrying her so she won't be talked about badly in town. Oh, Mom. Spare me. The whole town knows Kelly is a slut. I lost my patience. Catherine, watch your language, my father scolded me. Look, if you don't want to be around Kelly, fine, but you're going to this wedding. And enough with this rude behavior. I'm what? I thought I had heard wrong. You're going to your cousin's wedding, Catherine. That's an order. We're your parents and you'll obey. My mother spoke angrily at me as if I were the one in the wrong. I'm sorry, Mom, but I won't. I follow your rules. I'm a good daughter, but this time I can't. I was the one who was wronged. I have every right not to want to be the family joke anymore, I said, already crying. Enough, Catherine, my father shouted, startling me. You're going to this wedding and that's final. But Dad, I don't want to hear it, Catherine. It's important to your mother to keep peace in the family. So you're going, period, my father said, leaving no room for argument. I spent the night crying in my room. The next day, I told Melissa everything. She wasted no time and arranged invitations to a masquerade ball, a gala event. She told my parents it would be crucial for my career since the city's most important business people would be there. I could make valuable connections, and our professors had promised to introduce us to various entrepreneurs who could open doors for our professional future. At first, my parents weren't entirely convinced. But Melissa's parents talked to them and persuaded them that it would be an excellent opportunity for my future. So they agreed that I should take advantage of it. Catherine, you can't say no to me. I've already bought the tickets and masks, and I even convinced your parents that this is a super important event for your professional future, which was such hard work. This party is going to be incredible and you're not going to miss it. Melissa looked at me with puppy dog eyes, clasping her hands together as if begging. I was sitting at my desk at work in the middle of a Thursday afternoon, between taking messages and making calls, when Mel showed up with coffee, chocolate muffins. And this persistence about getting me to agree to go to the masquerade ball, which was the biggest annual event in our city. Oh, Mel, how is it that I can never say no to you? All right, I'll go. I agreed to go to the ball, but I still wasn't sure. Either way, I was going to sleep at Mel's house to avoid the wedding, but I wasn't planning on going to the party. However, Melissa kept pushing until she convinced me to go. On Saturday, we got ready at her place. Wow, girl. You look absolutely stunning. She handed me a beautiful golden mask, intricately designed like lace that covered up to my nose, and I put it on. I was wearing a shimmering red satin dress, and the mask matched perfectly. So are we ready? Yes, we're ready, I replied and grabbed my purse. Oh, I forgot my perfume. No problem, you can use my mom's new perfume. She won't mind. When Fred, Mel's boyfriend, saw us, he smiled, gave Mel a kiss and said, "Girls, you look gorgeous. I think you'll leave this party with a new boyfriend, Kat." No boyfriend, Fred. Actually, I think I'd better stay. I'm not in the party mood. Please, Mel, let me stay. There was no way out. My friend dragged me to the ball. As soon as we got in, Mel pulled us to the bar and whispered in my ear, "It's an open bar tonight, so you're going to drink until all that sadness washes away." Mel handed me 2 tequila shots while holding 2 more in her hands. "Let's down these." We knocked back the tequila, and Fred was already handing each of us a Cosmopolitan. Melissa dragged me to the dance floor and I was actually having fun. When a slow song started playing, Fred and Mel began slow dancing together. I took that as my cue to head to the buffet, but I didn't make it there. I felt someone grab my hand, and when I turned around, there was a man in a black mask smiling at me. And what a smile! He kissed my hand and pulled me close, whispering in my ear with a husky voice. Surely the most beautiful woman in the room won't deny me a dance, will she? And why not? Let's dance. I smiled back at him. It was impossible to resist that seductive husky voice and that gorgeous crooked smile. He was tall with broad shoulders, had a charming smile and blue eyes, so blue they were almost violet. He had sinfully tempting lips, brown hair, and when he pulled me by the waist, I placed my hands on his chest and could feel he was a wall of well-defined muscle. Although the mask concealed his face, he was very charming and enchanting. I've been watching you since you arrived. This mysterious man whispered in my ear. You're so beautiful. You're kind. But you're not from around here, are you? He had a powerful presence, radiating authority. No. A friend convinced me to come to this party. Looks like we have something in common. My friends convinced me to come too. Lucky me. And why's that? I smiled. Because I was captivated the moment I saw you. You're stunning. As he whispered in my ear, I got goosebumps, feeling my face flush and my body tingle. He truly had me enchanted. Even with the mask. Even with the mask. You're too beautiful. You're such a charmer. You think I'm charming. You know you are. And handsome too. I'm glad you like what you see. And what do you do for a living, handsome? I felt a bit dizzy. Not sure if it was from the drink or the delicious cologne that man was wearing. I ended up stumbling over my own feet. Are you okay? I think I need some air. Come with me. He pulled me into a dark hallway that led to an emergency exit and started fanning my face. I really want to kiss you. May I? I nodded yes. He looked into my eyes, held the back of my neck, and our lips met. It started slow but deepened. He pressed me against the wall, and the kiss intensified even more, almost taking our breath away. When he broke the kiss so we could breathe, we looked into each other's eyes. It was like throwing gasoline on fire. He ran his hand down my waist to my thigh and pulled my leg up to his waist. I was completely surrendered by then, feeling his body against mine. I went crazy with desire and pulled him closer, wrapping my leg around his waist. You're a great kisser. I smiled at him and felt my whole body tingle. Oh, beautiful, you're incredible. I want you so badly here right now. He said between kisses and slipped his hand under my dress, pulling it up and reaching my panties. I was on fire when he put his hand inside my panties and moaned. Oh, so delicious. So hot, so wet. He said and kissed me harder while unzipping his pants. With a quick movement like someone who had done this before, he tore my panties and caressed my entrance, as if asking for permission. He looked into my eyes again and asked, What do you want me to do? I want you inside me now. I responded shamelessly, already panting with desire. I couldn't resist those eyes and that husky voice. I'd never been like this before. Normally, I would have pulled away the moment he grabbed my hand, but tonight I had promised myself to have fun and live in the moment if someone interesting came along. And that's exactly what I was doing, living in the moment. Hearing me, he entered me slowly, watching as I leaned my head against the wall and savored every inch of him. And he was huge. He took the opportunity to scatter kisses along my neck. When he was fully inside, he paused and whispered between kisses in my ear. Now I'm going to move. He pulled out only to thrust back in with full force this time, and it was incredible. I was completely lost and driven wild by his movements as he moved in and out of me frantically. We lost control and gave ourselves over completely, as if nothing else existed around us. I felt a haze in my eyes as my orgasm began to build, and I moaned softly in his ear. At that moment he seemed to go crazy, lifting my other leg to his waist as I wrapped them around him. Kissing me intensely, he thrust even harder into me. It was heaven on earth. I came moaning into his mouth in an incredible orgasm, but he kept going and soon another orgasm built up. I came again, even more intensely than before, leaving me breathless. As I was coming, he whispered that he was close to his limit, feeling me pulse around him, and soon I felt his hot release inside me. We stayed there against that wall, completely breathless, his forehead resting against mine. While kissing me, he slowly withdrew, And I was thoroughly satisfied, as Melissa would say. I smiled and he looked at me, gave me a soft kiss and said, "You're truly amazing." He gently lowered my legs until my feet touched the ground, fixed my dress, adjusted his pants and hugged me. It was so intimate, so affectionate despite the wildness of our encounter and the intensity with which we'd given in to each other. He was still gentle with me. I'd never had such an incredible experience, but I'd only ever been with my ex until now. And my ex had never cared about hugging me afterward, or worried about my pleasure for him. It was just about getting in and out until he was satisfied. So having a man care about me, about my pleasure, take care of me, it was new and amazingly so. He kissed my neck and whispered in my ear, "So beautiful, I still don't know your name." It took me seconds to process and finally realize that I just had sex with a complete stranger whose name I didn't even know. Just as I was about to speak, he pulled his phone from his pocket and asked for a minute to answer it. He stepped away slightly and I could only hear him raising his voice saying, "What did you say?" At that moment, the stranger ran off as if he'd forgotten about me, or as if he was just running away from the woman he'd quickly hooked up with at the party. Of course, Catherine, you're an idiot. But so what? To hell with it, I was just having fun too, and I didn't even know who the guy was and he didn't know who I was. All good. I pulled myself together, looked in vain for my torn underwear. No idea where he'd thrown it, and left that hallway. I went back to the table and found Mel and Fred making out. They soon stopped and focused on me. "Mel, I think I found the big bad wolf." I laughed and she laughed with me. "When we get home, I want to know everything." "Of course you do," I replied with sparkling eyes. "Prince, I think we can go now. What do you think, Kat?" "I'm ready whenever you are," I said, downing a glass of water. "Let's go then, girls," Fred said and led us to the exit. We'd barely gotten home when Mel started demanding, "Tell me everything. Who is he? How it went? How it didn't go? Everything." I laughed and told her everything. When I finished speaking, my friend was staring at me open-mouthed and asked, "You guys use protection, right?" My heart started racing. Shit, we hadn't used protection. I shook my head no at her. I was in shock realizing how careless I'd been. She immediately tried to calm me down. "No, Kat, calm down. I'm sure nothing will come of it. But you should get some tests done to make sure everything's okay. I'm going to the kitchen to make us some tea. Don't freak out." On Monday during lunch, I met Mel. She handed me a small bag from a fancy store and I looked at her, confused. "My mom asked me to give this to you. She said it's perfect for you and doesn't suit her," Mel said with a big smile. I opened the bag and inside was the perfume I had worn to the ball. A huge smile spread across my face. I loved that perfume and it was part of the best night of my life. I just hoped that my best night hadn't left me with an STD as a souvenir. With that thought, I thanked Mel and told her I'd call her mom later, then mentioned I wanted to call the lab to schedule some tests. I called the laboratory and was informed that I needed a doctor's prescription to get the tests covered by health insurance. Thank God the company provided health insurance for employees because otherwise I wouldn't know what to do. My salary wasn't high, and what little was left after covering college expenses went to helping at home, since my mom didn't work outside the house and my dad didn't make much as a driver. So I made a doctor's appointment. But the earliest available slot was 2 weeks away, and I waited anxiously. The more days passed, the more nervous I became, though Mel did everything to calm me down. On the scheduled date, she went to the doctor's with me. With the list of tests in hand, she personally scheduled the lab work and insisted on accompanying me. 3 weeks had passed since the party when I finally got the tests done. The results came back 5 days later, and I returned to the doctor. Of course, Mel was with me. The doctor checked the results and looked me in the eyes. "Miss Catherine, your health is excellent. You're healthy. But from now on, you'll need to take better care of yourself." I breathed a sigh of relief, but was I really about to get lectured by the doctor for having unprotected sex with a stranger? Well, I deserved it. Not using protection was stupid. I could have caught a disease. And then he continued, "Congratulations, you're pregnant. I'm going to refer you to an OB/GYN for prenatal care." I didn't hear anything else, just the blood pulsing in my ears. I couldn't believe this. Pregnant? How would I explain this? It's not possible. Me of all people, the perfect goody two-shoes who never stepped out of line, who always considered the consequences before doing anything, who was always responsible, the first time I let rationality slide. I ended up pregnant and didn't even know who the father was. Mel held my hand and kept repeating, "Calm down, Kat. Everything will be okay." How could everything be okay? I didn't even know who the father was. Shit. I would have to tell my parents. Their only daughter would break their hearts. They would be disappointed, hate me, and kick me out of the house. How could I explain that I don't even know what the father of my child looks like? I was already hyperventilating. Suddenly, I felt the doctor taking my hand and speaking calmly. Easy now, dear. The situation, from what I can see, isn't ideal, but you can't get this nervous, it will harm your baby. Now you have to take care of yourself for the baby's sake. I'm sure the people who love you will support and help you. But you need to calm down because only you can ensure this baby develops healthily and is born strong. Do you understand me? I looked at that short, white-haired, slightly chubby gentleman, with his glasses perched on the tip of his nose, and nodded positively. Somehow he calmed me down a bit, maybe because his eyes sparkled with a kindness and understanding that we rarely see these days. The doctor asked his secretary to bring me some chamomile tea, and while I drank it and tried to calm down, he gave all the information to Melissa, who listened attentively. We left the office and Melissa took me to a diner, saying we needed to eat something. As soon as I sat down, I felt the tears falling. My friend hugged me and told me once again that I wasn't alone. I looked at her and said, "The only thing I'm sure of right now is that I want you and Fred to be my child's godparents because I know you'll support them and give them lots of love." Her eyes sparkled and she burst into tears, responding between sobs. "I'll be the best godmother in the world and I'll always be close to our baby. And I'm sure Fred will be very happy too." She assured me she would always be by my side, made it clear that I wouldn't go through anything alone, and that she would be with me when I talked to my parents. My parents, oh. I started thinking and decided I wouldn't hide it from them for even a day. I would tell them that very night. I wouldn't go to college, I would go home to talk to them. Mel immediately supported me and said, "Let's go then, I'm with you." When we arrived at my house, my parents were startled and my mom came right over, worried. "Girls, didn't you go to class today? Is everything okay?" "Not really, Mom. I need to talk to you both." My parents immediately realized it was something very serious. We all sat in the living room and I told them what was happening, admitting I had been irresponsible by hooking up with a stranger at the party. I obviously didn't go into details, but I made it clear that I couldn't find my child's father again. The disappointment in their eyes was evident. My mother was sobbing uncontrollably, saying I was ruined. My father hadn't said anything yet. Seeing how upset my mother was, Melissa quickly went to the kitchen and came back with a glass of sugar water for her. Melissa always gives sugar water to nervous people, saying it calms them down. I never understood that. Finally, my father spoke. "You made a huge mistake and there's no going back." My parents were very simple people. My father was a tall, strong man, and my mother was an older version of me, but both had great character and solid principles they always made sure to pass on to me. Hearing my father emphasize that I had messed up made my heart ache even more. I started crying and said, "I know, Dad, I was irresponsible. But there's nothing I can do now. I'll drop out of college to raise my child. And I'm going to pack my bags." "Pack your bags? You're very mistaken if you think you're leaving this house like that. You made a mistake and you disappointed us, but we love you, we'll get through this and we'll help you. You're not alone, my daughter. And neither is this child." My father said this and my heart filled with hope. "But Dad, I brought shame to you. You're not the first and won't be the last single mother in this world. We would have liked things to be different for you, not so difficult. You've always been so responsible. But if this is how it is, we'll face it together. You won't leave college. More than ever, you need to grow in life to take care of your child. You're going to be a single mother, your responsibility is huge. We'll help you, and even though it will be difficult, everything will work out." Melissa was already crying and quickly spoke to my parents. "Mr. Anthony, Miss Selena, you can count on me, I'll help with everything. Besides, I'm this baby's godmother, Kat is like a sister to me, and I'll always be around." My parents looked at her gratefully. I looked at those three feeling completely blessed to have them in my life, full of love for them and experiencing a totally new feeling for that little being still growing inside me, whose existence I had just discovered. As difficult as being a single mother would be, that night at the ball was the best night of my life. I could never forget those violet blue eyes looking at me with adoration during our furtive encounter and everything my body experienced that night. I would always have that sweet memory with me. The following months were difficult. I kept the dress, shoes, mask, and perfume that Mel's mother gave me in a box. On difficult days, I would open that box and relive that night in my memory. Although I had a peaceful pregnancy, people's comments and cruelty were hard to bear. To make matters worse, after they got married, my ex and my cousin moved in with her parents, who lived on the same street as us. They made sure to humiliate me with nasty comments whenever they saw me and spread throughout the neighborhood that I didn't know who my child's father was and that I was a loose woman, which was why Claude had left me. I wanted to kill them. Kelly's mother, who was my mother's sister, never missed a chance to come to our house and torment us, saying how fortunate it was that her daughter wasn't like me, that she was a good girl who had married a decent man. She seemed to have forgotten that whore had stolen my boyfriend and had sex with him in my bed. But I swallowed it all. It wasn't worth arguing with these people, and I didn't want to transmit negative feelings to my child. As the days went by, I loved that baby more and more. I had no idea such love could exist. Everything I did for him. I would protect him from everything. I would give my life to him. And surprisingly, during the pregnancy, everything seemed to flow in my favor. Things were falling into place and working out. My boss was great, understood my situation, and even gave me a small raise, which was a huge help. Mel and Fred showered me with attention. They were in love with their godchild even before knowing if it would be a girl or boy. They insisted on buying everything for the nursery, which turned out beautiful. Mel accompanied me to all appointments and every test, never missing anything. She even organized 2 baby showers, one at the company and another at college. My child would come into the world surrounded by love. I found out I was having a boy and decided to name him Peter. And so it was. Peter was born healthy, with a pair of huge violet blue eyes that would never let me forget the night that changed my life, but was also the best night I'd ever had. I would never forget that man. My son was surrounded by love from the first moment. My parents were enchanted by their grandson. Mel and Fred came to our house every day to see their godson and check how we were doing. Mel was always there supporting me in everything. Her parents also came to visit Peter and said they would be honorary grandparents since they considered me their daughter too, which I found beautiful. They also surrounded me with care. They insisted on giving the stroller as a gift, and the day Peter was born, they came to the maternity ward with a huge basket of flowers and welcome balloons. After my maternity leave ended, my son stayed in my mother's care while I was at work in college. I worked hard and devoted all my time not spent at college or work to my son. With the help of my parents and my son's godparents, I managed everything and didn't miss any semester in college, graduating alongside my friend Melissa. It was a great moment for me and my family. With my diploma in hand, I would now pursue a better future, with the firm purpose that my son would never lack anything. When I graduated, Peter was already 2 years old. By then he was walking everywhere, always clinging to grandma, which was his first word. He was a beautiful boy with straight black hair, fair skin, a cute little upturned nose, and those huge violet eyes that made me sigh. He was my sunshine. And now I would have more time for him. After graduation, my boss called me in for a chat. He was an excellent boss and said he was very happy with my work at the company, but he knew I deserved to go far, so I should look for a job in my field, and he would understand. He assured me that my job at the construction company would be mine for as long as I wanted, and if I left and things didn't work out, I would always have a place to come back to. However, he advised that I should seek something in my field of study to provide a better future for my son. I was very touched by this and accepted his good advice. I told Melissa, and she immediately said she would talk to her father about reaching out to some contacts. It didn't take long before Mr. Oliver Larson, Mel's father, called me to his office and handed me a card, saying, "Catherine, I know you're an excellent girl and a good professional. I spoke with a friend and he arranged an interview for you at Miller Group. It's for the position of CEO's assistant. If you get this job, you'll be working in your field at a global company. It's an excellent position, but it's not here in Bellwood. You would have to move to Paradise Port. I know it's a huge step, but I think you should consider it. It will be excellent for you. Anyway, send an email to the address on the card with your response, either declining the position or accepting the virtual interview. Mr. Larson, I don't have words to thank you. You've always been so good to me. Miller Group is one of the largest business conglomerates in the country. Working there is a dream. I'll definitely accept the interview, and if I have to move, I will. I know it will be a great opportunity," I said with conviction. It wouldn't be bad to get away from those nasty family members, especially now that Queen Kelly was pregnant and her mother decided to ask for all of Peter's things for the child of that dishonest couple. Thankfully, my mom told her that was absurd, but it wouldn't matter anyway since I had already given everything Peter had outgrown to an acquaintance who was pregnant. My mom had been very upset with her sister as she was always dismissing my son, always referring to him as the fatherless boy, which really hurt my mom. Leaving this city, I'll only regret leaving my parents and friends behind, but I know they'll support me once again. I thanked Mr. Larson and left the office. When I got to my desk, I spoke with my boss, another Mr. Larson, but since he didn't like being called that, I addressed him by his first name. Aldo, your brother got me an interview at Miller Group. He smiled. I know he just called me. I think you should grab this opportunity. If it doesn't work out, you can always come back. I smiled at him and immediately sent an email to schedule the interview. I quickly received confirmation that the interview would be the next day at 10 in the morning, and since I had already taken the initiative to send my resume, the interview would be brief. That night at home, I talked to my parents who understood. Even though they were worried about how I would manage to raise a child alone in another city and got teary-eyed about being far from their grandson, they supported me as always and were happy about the opportunity one received. I asked them not to tell anyone. When Mel arrived, she came every day to see her godson. I told her everything and she helped me prepare for the next day. At the time of the interview, I went to the meeting room at my workplace. My boss had given me permission. I sat down and waited for the call. I was interviewed by a very kind and intelligent woman, Mrs. Mariana Taylor. It was very pleasant. We talked for 2 hours. She gave me all the information about the position, salary, and benefits. At the end, she said, "Catherine, you're hired. You'll be replacing me since I'm taking a director position at the London branch, so you'll be taking over my position here. I'd like you to start as soon as possible because I'm leaving in 10 days and would like to hand everything over to you before I go. And I'd rather not reschedule my departure. When can you start?" "I just need my boss to release me, but I think I can be there on Monday." It was already Friday. Would Aldo agree to release me today? Perfect. You can send me an email confirmation after you talk to him. Do you have any questions? No, ma'am. Everything is clear. Great. Welcome to Miller Group. I'm sure you'll do very well. I'll see you on Monday. She ended the call and my heart was racing. I had done it. The job was great, the salary even better, and I would have chances to progress. It was a dream. But now it was time to rush and sort everything out. I immediately went to talk to my boss. He was happy about it, called accounting, and had them process my settlement right away. After that, he let me go, saying I would always have a place to come back if needed, but he knew I would do very well. I thanked him for everything and left. I sent the confirmation email to Mrs. Taylor, saying I would be at the company at 8 on Monday morning, and went straight to talk to Mel and her father. I had to thank them. And that's when Mel surprised me. "Did you think you were going to take my godson away just like that?" "No way. My father got me an interview at Link's World in Paradise Port. I'm moving with you and we'll live together. What do you think?" This was perfect. I was overjoyed but quickly asked, "Mel, what about Fred?" "Fred has already requested a transfer to the Paradise Port branch at his company. He'll have better opportunities there too. He's coming in 15 days. Friend, it's a new life for all three of us." I was so happy. Mel had orchestrated everything. Fred would drive us there and she would take care of Peter while I worked until we found a daycare. She already had 3 daycares to visit, and her father had already made available a furnished apartment in the city for us. It was too good to be true. I was even scared. Noticing this, Mel nudged me and said, "Learn to accept the good things life offers you." I smiled at her and we went to my parents' house. It was time to break the news and say goodbye. Paradise Port is on the other side of the country, so we wouldn't see each other for a while. My parents were happy until I said I would leave the next morning, then the farewell became sad. It was hard to leave them behind, but it was necessary. With the salary I would receive, I could help them now. That was good. The next morning, Fred and Mel arrived right on time. Mel's father had given her a pickup truck as a gift, which made moving our stuff much easier. Fred loaded everything into the truck, and off we went. It would be a full day on the road. We arrived in Paradise Port late Saturday night. Peter was exhausted but had enjoyed himself immensely during the trip. Everything was new and exciting to him. We got settled in, ordered some food, and after eating, went to bed. On Sunday, we explored the city to get our bearings. Paradise Port was a huge, modern industrial city on the coast. Its port attracted lots of business, making it a first-world urban center. The apartment where we would be living was close to one of the daycares Mel had contacted, which was great. It wasn't far from the company either. I could get there in 20 minutes by subway. The apartment was beautiful with a modern design, great ventilation, and huge windows that let in plenty of natural light. That evening, we dropped Fred off at the airport and headed home to rest. The next day would be a big one. I would be starting my new job, while Mel had her virtual interview and would schedule a meeting with the director of the daycare near our apartment to visit and talk. I tucked my son into bed. He was worn out from all the fun he'd had today. As I watched him sleeping peacefully, I felt confident that we would have a really good life here. Peter now had his own room, and Mel and I had planned to buy some things to make it feel more personal and give it our own touch. I grabbed the baby monitor and went to my room. I opened one of my boxes and started organizing everything. When I opened the last box, I took out the box containing my memories from the ball night. I opened it, ran my hand over that beautiful dress, and sighed once again. I picked up the perfume and thought, why not? Starting tomorrow, I would wear this perfume every day. My salary was good, and when this bottle ran out, I could buy another. I put the box away, left the perfume on the dresser, and went to bed full of expectations for this new life that was opening up before me. I showed up at the company at 8 a.m. Mrs. Taylor gave me a warm welcome and introduced me to everyone, and they were all very kind. The boss wasn't there, he was traveling and would return at the end of the week. The office was beautiful, very modern, decorated in white with stainless steel and green accents, managing to be both professional and welcoming. It was elegant, and I really liked it. I was particularly glad I had chosen to wear a black suit with a dark green silk blouse underneath and black heels. I would need to dress elegantly every day now. After all, I would be working directly with the company president. Mid-morning, I received a message from Mel saying she had managed to schedule an appointment with the director of the daycare near our apartment during lunch hour. I explained the situation to Mrs. Taylor and asked if it would be possible to leave during that time, assuring her I would be back on schedule. So you have a child. How old is he? She asked with a smile. He's 2 years old. He's a very clever little boy. He wasn't planned, but he's the reason for my life. What's his name? Peter. Peter. A strong name. You're not married, I know that, but what about your son's father? Are you still together? My heart sank. How could I explain to her that I didn't know who the father was? But I don't lie, so let's face the truth. I told her that Peter's father was someone I met at a party and never saw again. She looked at me seriously, but there was no judgment in her eyes. Then she said, "You have my respect, Catherine. It's not easy being a single mother, and it's very difficult to tell truths like this when you know they might trigger others' judgment. Thank you for your trust and honesty. Go take care of the daycare arrangements for your son. We'll continue this afternoon. No need to rush." I thanked her and said goodbye, heading off to meet Mel and Peter. My admiration and respect for Mrs. Taylor only grew. She's a woman in her mid-50s with very light blonde hair and almost transparent blue eyes. She's a beautiful and elegant woman, but most importantly, she's very welcoming. We got along very well. During the rest of the morning, she filled me in with information about the work, and I took notes on everything. At lunchtime, I left the building and Mel was already waiting at the door with Peter. I got in the car, and we went to lunch before heading to the daycare. Mel and I loved the daycare, and Peter was already fitting in, running around with his new little friends. He's such an outgoing boy. That made me so happy. My son was happy. We decided not to look at other daycares since this one was excellent and very close to home, just 3 blocks away. We completed the enrollment and sorted out all the details. The director suggested we let Peter stay until the end of the day since he was having fun and could start adapting. Mel agreed to pick him up at the end of the day. Mel dropped me back at the company and told me she'd head home to prepare for her job interview later in the afternoon. I returned to my office, arriving before Mrs. Taylor. I sat at the desk and started reviewing everything she had already told me. The phone on the desk rang, and I wasn't sure what to do, but since this would be my desk, I answered in my most professional voice. "Miller Group, Executive Office, good afternoon. How may I help you?" I heard a deathly silence on the other end followed by a long sigh. Someone spoke up with obvious impatience, in a strong and slightly hoarse voice. "Put Mariana on." I was startled but kept my composure and replied, "I'm sorry, sir, but Mrs. Taylor hasn't returned from lunch yet. May I help you, or would you like to leave a message?" "Who is this speaking?" he asked, even more impatiently. "My name is Catherine. I'm Mr. Miller's new executive assistant." "But I don't know you." He seemed to grow more impatient with each word. "It's my first day here, sir. Would you like to leave a message?" "Tell Mariana to call me as soon as she sets foot in the office." "Certainly, sir. And your name is?" "Looks like I'm your boss." He snapped and hung up. Wow, what a stressed out man. This wasn't in the job description. My throat immediately tightened. Had I already made a bad impression on my boss? I was so screwed. I started thinking I wouldn't last long in this job. Shortly after, Mrs. Taylor arrived and I passed on the message with a worried look on my face. She looked at me with a smile as if understanding my concern and asked, was he calm? I looked at her and couldn't help myself. He was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. I'm pretty sure I could see his jugular vein popping out of his neck. She burst out laughing and then said, you two are going to get along great. You'll tame the beast, I'm sure of it. I wasn't so sure about that. Maybe I shouldn't even unpack my bags. This man was going to eat me alive.